Hello, and welcome to another video from K-BAS. Today, I'll be doing a video in regards to which character I am interested that has currently been announced in Multi-Blood Type Lumina. I know it might be weird that I haven't even really talked about Multi-Blood, since I did say it's one of my #1 favorite fighting games, but I guess just for a little clarification for people maybe who have not checked some of my older videos, I do pretty much like Melted Blood a lot. I do love Melted Blood Actress Again Current Co. But I'm aware that Melted Blood Type Lumina is not really that much of a same game to Melted Blood Actress Again. It is definitely different games. They have different mechanics in there. So basically, I fell in love with Melted Blood Actress Again Current Co. And Melted Blood Type Lumina, for all intents and purposes, is going to be a very different game with just maybe something similar to Melty Blood. But there was also the fact that the characters who I like to play haven't really even shown up. Granted, with Melty Blood system, I tend to still even enjoy the game. Like, I have like maybe 8 characters I like to play in Actress Again, so I don't need to have my character to be able to play Melty Blood, because the system mechanics are usually what keeps me into Melty Blood, and the character just kind of adds that little bit of flavor or spice that I like. But without further ado, let's go ahead and go into my list that's first here. So this is how this current list is go. There is the Wish to Main. Wish to Main basically means these are going to be the characters who I wish I can play competently and be good at. This is Best Fit to Main. Basically, this is probably will be the character who is probably the best one for my like actual play style and whatnot. Even what makes them different from the Wish to Main is these are characters who are probably like both aesthetically and how they play, or rather, this is the character I want to play. But the Best Fit to Main is these are characters who are probably actually I should be playing. I guess case in point, if you remember the fighting game Million Arthur Arcana Blood, like in that game, I wanted to main the character Reese, and I also wanted to main the character Koime, but I'm actually not very good with them. They don't really fit my playstyle quite well, and I find myself settling on the character Nito from Million Arthur Arcana Blood. And if that's too niche, let's go ahead and say Under Night Ember. The character who I did want to the main was Hilda, but Yuzuriha wind up being a much better fit for my playstyle wise. But enough of Best Fit to Main. Let's go to the other one. Now this is Preferred Functions. Basically, this means these are characters who don't really fit like what I want in a character, but they at least have some of the tools I want, or rather they at least fit the function. But these are characters who I'm like, I don't have a personal investment towards them. Like, I probably don't like them aesthetically or characteristic wise, and they may fit the roles of, let's say, the Zoner or Bootsy character, but I'm not that desperate to play them. If anything, you could say this is kind of like my backup in case the Best Fit to Main somehow just doesn't really do it for me. Might try. Now that category is basically, I have maybe subpar interest, but I will play. But I would more just give them a shot. It's like either maybe I have history with them, or I'm kind of just, let's just say basically I noticed their existence, but I didn't have the drive to play them. And then the yet not happening is basically I have no investment or interest whatsoever in the characters at all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the bottom and work our way up. So first off, Akira Bernstein. Now, I technically don't hate Akira as a character. Like, out of all the main waifus, I think I definitely sort of kind of prefer Akira as a character. But her playstyle, she's pretty much is straight Unga Booga, rush down. Not my playstyle whatsoever. I at least like the fact that she was like the first character I played when I played Melty Blood React. And she does have record series, which I do like. But then after that, it's like that's where my attachment to the character basically just stops. at that point. So yeah, she's not happening. Then the next character, Miyako. Ironically, I do like Miyako because she is like that sort of comedic relief of a character. But once again, she is straight unga bunga in your face, pressuring people. Just not what I'm trying to do when I play my games. So she's definitely in the not happening. And then I'm actually going to put basically one more character in this category for the most part. Kohaku. She is the... Now, she's not exactly as Unga Bunga, but she's definitely much more set play heavy, where her game is get a hit, carry the point to the corner, and then have them deal with her oppressive Oki. It is not my preferred playstyle because it reminds me way too close to Guilty Gear, and the furthest I can get away from Guilty Gear, the better for me. So yeah, that would definitely settle the not happening. So let's go ahead and go with the... let me take a look one more time. No, yeah, I think that's definitely in the not happening. So let's go ahead and might try. So I'm gonna put Shikitono here. Reason why Shikitono is definitely here, he's not... You could say he's kind of sort of the game's all-rounder to some extent. I mean, he has no projectile, but his normals are good. One of the main things that made me like Shiki, at least as a character, is the fact that he has like a double bat dash. Like he has a bat dash, and then he has a secondary bat dash, which gives him more space and even more visibility. So I definitely like that. He's all-rounder, which, considering that I like to play footsie characters, that's also in the realm of, okay, I could probably get behind that. But, don't really care for him as a character. Not because I really hate him as a character, but just almost have no interest for the most part. So, yeah, he goes into might try. Koima. So, I have a little bit of history with Koima in the original game. I liked him in C. I liked his C version and his Crescent Moon version and Multiple Actress again. He's basically a hybrid grappler, if you can say. Maybe even somewhat of a... I don't want to say he's a wall, because he really does require... No, he is pretty much Vortex. But his character himself is just also very cool. I do like his buttons. I like that he did have a record series that may not be present this time around, but he does have a lot of armor and then grabs. So, one thing, as I said again as a player, I kind of like sticking around the strike throw gameplay, and Koima does have a above average strike throw game due to him having command grabs. However, to really excel with him ultimately, you do need to actually have a bit of a okay Zimmy mix up mindset, and that's what kind of scared me from ever really trying to pick him up that much further in the older games, because he really is getting knocked down and do Vortex. I don't tend to really like to play like that, to try to constantly mix up my opponent after a knockdown. So, but then again, Koima is a cool character. He has usually more extra defensive option, which technically he needs that as a grappler. So that's why he's definitely in the might try, but I'm definitely not putting my hopes up for that. So the next character, and actually, you know what? Now that I just look at the list again, there is another character who I might need to put in the not happening, sort of. And that's definitely going to be Michael Roa. Even though he's not a straight Unga Bunga character, he is about still oppressing the opponent. In other words, he's still very close to almost what Kohaku wants to do, because he's not messing up his characters that much, or at least during pressure wise. So he does rely on doing a much more oppressive Oki and then locking the opponent down. That's definitely not how I personally like to play. So yeah, Michael Rao actually is also in the not happening. So yeah, but now that I got him there as well, let's go ahead and I think we could almost put in the might try section. So the maze, this may seem a bit weird since the maze are basically just Kohaku and Hisui together, but to properly explain this, Um, so basically, if I guess maybe just for a quick sort of spoiler, I'm definitely going to be putting Huzoi in the preferred function because Huzoi is something of a zoner to some extent, and she does have tools I like. So, but now, why I probably mess with the twins is because this allows Huzoi to kind of play slightly different than her standard version because she gets Kohaku assist. And assist can sort of almost even act like their own, let's say, zoning tactics. Let's just say it's a slightly enhanced version of, no, not enhanced. Let's just say it's a different version of Huzoi, and I may be willing to do that. Also, usually the twins themselves usually have some specific command. Like one, I like the level 2 and sorry, they have 2 arc drives in Melted Blood Atsukan Curry Code. One is either the standard characters arc drive, and then there's another like 150 meter like arc drive where basically both the characters kind of tag team, and apparently it has a lot of visibility in that process. So it was, I won't say it's a good reversal, but it was sort of a good get off me tool, and I kind of liked it that. So that's why they're in the might try, because one, I at least get half of a character I do like in there. And even though I don't want to play Oki heavy, I won't deny having Oki tools is still pretty nice. But yeah, that's why the maids are in the might try. So now we're going to go to, actually there's going to be one more might try, and that's sort of going to be Noelle. This is more, now she could actually go into the preferred function possibly, but the problem is we don't really know her function that much. But the reason why she at least in the might try, one, I was personally hoping she was going to be like Risby because she's carrying a big weapon, but that proved to not so far be the case. She does have keys or some type of projectiles that allows her to dash cancel or just kind of sort of control neutral, but they're behind a resource, so I'm not sure I'm too fond of that. I mean, I don't hate resource management because I play a lot of games that already requires that of me, but one, she does definitely seem to be much more closer to, if anything, you could say this is a closer character to a Unga Bunga style who I might play because of she has big buttons, because I'm not good at playing footsie. One of the reasons I like to play zoners or the wall is because their gameplay kind of sort of stay the same, sort of. But when you got to play actual like books, what did I just say, footsie? I did kind of contradict myself. The thing is, if I have big buttons, then footsie is usually much more easier to manage because, like, okay, I usually outrange my opponent, so my opponent has to be more mindful of how they approach me, not me, vice versa, trying to approach them. So that's why I kind of like Noelle, because she does have big buttons to kind of have an edge in the footsie gameplay. Thus, I have less to worry about footsie unless I'm dealing against, I guess, a zoner per se. But yeah, that's why Noelle's in the might try. And I'm actually going to put one more character in the might try in this, and this will be CL. CL is probably the next all-arounder, but who actually has much more of a long-screen presence compared to Shiki Tono. She does have a record series, which I do like from her projectiles, so that's neat. She has good anti-zoning tools with her like 236 C commands and whatnot. And she usually has a lot of additional normals, which kind of allows you to kind of form a much more unique form of pressure. So, and she also has like a, how do I say it? I think they call it flying ballerina. Basically, she does have a tool set that allows her to do either a fake out, a dive, or a command grab. And considering that I like having command grabs, because since I like to play more of the strike and throw, CL does sort of complement that, sort of, is the thing. So yeah, we'll put CL there. So we're actually going to finish it off with the might try section, and now we're going to go to the prefer function. So Akihel Tono is going to be here because even though she's kind of more reminiscent of her Seifuku version, overall, besides Vermilion Akihel, the other version of Akihel was sort of a mid-range zoner, sort of set play, but it was at least easy set play to establish. even that's the case with Setfuku, because once she has a command grab that allows combos, she has tools that enable some lockdown. And then she also has some good specials that was just good at spacing and allowing her to oppress the opponent during neutral. And the fact that usually good majority of her normals are multi-hits, that's kind of helped in the confirm department. So I definitely did appreciate that. But she was not a character I wanted to play, but I recognize this is a character I could play if I invested enough into it. But yeah, that's going to be for Akio Tono. And then we're going to have Hisui. Hisui, she's kind of considered something of a slightly hybrid zoner. She does have the ability to projectile zone, but her main gameplay was probably a lot more closer to setup since she had bento box. And even though I said I'm not the biggest fan of Oki, I kind of do like her bento box since they're multi-purposes for either I do it on Oki to make you be afraid of trying to do something, or I could just put her on the ground and then control that space. Thus, the opponent has to micromanage around the footsie or neutral because of that bento box, which I still like because I sort of do like trap games to some extent. I kind of start learning to appreciate trap games when it came to playing Rachel Alucard from Blaze Blue series. So I can basically appreciate that. And while she doesn't have a Raka, she does have an attack series where she does a lot of, let's say, 1,000 hand slap. Very reminiscent to E Honda, who I do like to play, which is a good confirm tool to know, hey, what just happened? And not only that, when she does confirm what happened, she has follow-ups from that 1,000 stab move where she can either do a launcher, a smackdown, and maybe something even different. Not only that, she also has a dust cloud, which is also good at denying space. So she actually is pretty good at just more or less denying space for the opponent and a fair bit. I never really tried to invest into Hisui, and if it wasn't for seeing the next two characters I'm about to come up, I would have definitely started I probably would have started my multi-blood type Lumina career with Hisui or Hakia as it wasn't for these characters now coming up. So now we're going to go to best fit to main, and there's only one character in that. This is Vlov Archangel. Now, we don't know that much about Vlov, but we have had match videos, and they did say he's more or less a zoner who's good at more or less keeping the opponent out. And what I've seen for his match video, even though he's a bit of a zoner, it does seem that he's actually much closer to the wall playstyle. What is the wall playstyle? As I've mentioned in many other videos, basically the wall characters, these are characters who don't try to move as much as often. Basically, actually, E Honda, if you know who E Honda is, E Honda does not try to move that often. And not only just because of his charge, but just because E Honda is better at reacting what the opponent does than he is at taking initiative. With really his initiative good option is 100 hands. But if he's not in position to use 100 hands, then he likes to kind of, hold his position, watch what the opponent does, and try to react to what they do. Whether he's trying to get around their projectiles, or if he's trying to outspace his opponent without losing space for his own. And Vlov definitely seems to look like that, because while he does have projectiles, they're not projectiles that's really locking people down. It's more just, I use the projectile to control the space, so I see where you do move and react. And that does seem to be his gameplay for the most part. He has big buttons, which I definitely like. So just like I said, how I might want to play Noelle because she has big buttons, which helps me better handle the footsie gameplay. Vlov can basically accomplish that as well, while additionally having projectiles that's not limited by resources. Not only that, he does have also Rekkas. I don't know if Noelle has Rekkas, but I wouldn't put my money on that. But he has Rekkas, and even his Rekka series leads to he has a Rekka ender that is a grab, so he definitely even has a strike throw gameplay embedded into himself. So basically he almost just has everything I want. So that's why he's like the best fit for me to main. So yeah, that is Vlov and the best fit to main. Now, the character who I wish to main will be Red Awkward. I know this may be ironic since I just said how I don't really care for Awkward as a character that much, but I do have to admit, when she's in her craze state, I am definitely more invested with her as a character. I like in her old version how she was much more feral and sadistic like, which I like that because it was much more expression. I mean, Aqua actually does show a lot of expressions, but I do like. Maybe I guess I gotta say maybe I'm a sucker for crazy chicks, psychotic chicks, yandere maybe. Who knows? But then not only that, when it comes to playstyle, now in the original game, Red Orchid actually had a lot of versatile playstyles. But the C version, which I played the most, she was definitely the most known as the best runaway character, and as well as one of the best frame trap characters. In other words, her stagger game was pretty impressive. Not only that, her normals were just really nice and good. They were short range, but they all have like different function utilities. And they even showed that case in her trailer where her 5B being charged, it is an overhead, but it's also armor. So basically, she's essentially she's a runaway character who has a good ability at also forcing the opponent to do something. She's not good at actually opening up the opponent, but she is good at making the opponent, hey, do something so then I can try to punish you because how oppressive some of the things. Like, sorry, she had unblockables. Not that she had unblockable in the old version. She had armor moves. She did have a good runaway game, which helped me dealt with her neutral and footsie game because, like I said, I'm still not good at handling neutral, but running away is not that hard to do. Get a hit, get out of there, get a hit, get out of there. And in fact, that's the reason why I really liked her, because even though she did have something of an Oki game, it was also like, well, you can do Oki, but it's also okay just to go back to playing neutral, especially if I have the life lead. So I really like Red Orchid, but the reason why it's in the Wish to Mate and not Best Fit, because one, we haven't seen any of her teleports besides out of her Moon Drive. I don't know if she has all her additional normals, which help her stagger game. She definitely has more range now, so maybe she could sort of play footsies better. But outside of her projectile, I don't know what else of her that she had, because she even did have good anti-zoning tools with the eye glare for both her C and H version, but we don't see any of that. The only thing she really has as her anti-zoning is her Moon Drive. I'm not sure if it's even the Moon Drive, but rather it's her teleport ES move. And maybe her Arc Drive, because her Arc Drive does seem full screen. But otherwise, that's why she's in the Wish to Main, because I am personally praying and hoping she's like C Red Orchid, but we don't. But it sounds like, sorry, what some people said, it seems like she's probably Red Orchid with a bit of Hime, which I wasn't really a fan of Hime, so who knows? But actually, that's probably going to go ahead and wrap up. Yeah, I think this is just here just for the sake of being here. I mean, if she was here, maybe I would. But all right, yeah, that is actually going to wrap up K-BAS interest tier list. So maybe just for a cool, quick rundown. Wish to Main. I wish I could play Red Orchid, but I need to see what more of her toolset is, or even better yet, if even I'm capable of playing her. In fact, if I now can reminisce again, one of the reasons why I did stick on Red Orchid initially, because I hate how difficult her combo was. I personally did hated that. I don't know if that's going to be the case in Type Lumina, but her combos were really hard, even though I liked everything else about her. So that's why I had bounced between her and C Ryogi, and as well as H Wrist Beef. Like, I was always kind of tossing between them. Red Orchid, good neutral, good gameplay. I like. Had trouble with the combos. C Ryogi, easy pressure, sort of easy pressure, little difficult damage, and neutral was almost was very difficult to handle because C Ryogi had very low health. And she also she sort of had a bit of a high execution, but at least her pressure was straightforward, so I could deal with that. And then H Ryogi, neutral was a freaking nightmare, but when I got a hit in a combo, it was easy peasy, 4.5k almost every touch, so I was able to delete life period but neutral was hell for that. But I went on a tangent. So yeah, Wish to main, Rare Arcade, Best Fit to main. This is probably the character who was probably made for people like me, the ones who want to play from the back, risk management. Don't play an overcommit game and just try to zone the opponent out for the most part. Characters who also fit preferred function. These are characters who basically has some of the attributes I like, but I was not really that interested in playing them, or rather, their gameplay is still not something I'm comfortable with. Here's where he still needs pretty good pressure game, and Akira still actually wants to set play to some extent. Might try are basically these are characters who are just mildly interested either because of the character or they have certain tools I like, but they're not actual tools that's probably their best strength. And again, not happening. These are characters who are just really not interest and probably also not my type of play style. And that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining me and have a good day.